Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be looking at using the Dina Wakley white collage tissues to help us paint a face on our page. So I've got this black background that I had in my journal. It's just black gesso and I've just splattered paint or paint pens all over the top of it to make this sort of galaxy background. And it's been sitting in my journal for a little while and I didn't know what to do with it. So I decided to put a face over it because I'm really enjoying putting large faces in my art journal. And I'm really enjoying putting them smack bang in the middle of my page, which I don't know why, but I like that you open up your page and you've got a big image looking at you and you've got the room around the outside that you can do a quote on or something. So I'm using gel medium to glue everything down. A few people have asked me about gluing down tissue. I put a really thin layer of gel medium underneath my image and then I put a layer over the top, and I use my brush to kind of push it down, push out any bubbles. You can see me doing my fingers as well, kind of to scrub the gel medium into the surface, because you actually want the gel medium to go into the surface of the paper. That's what helps it stay a little bit translucent. So once I've finished heating it, you can kind of see it does still have that cloudy effect, which usually really bothers me, but it doesn't in this instant because I'm going to paint over it. So I'm just going to use this face as my guide to paint. So I've got a few colours out. I've got eggplant, fuchsia, magenta, not heather, carnation, I think, and some turquoise. So what I'm going in first with is my darkest colours to put in my shadows, and then I'm going in with my mid-tone, which is at magenta, and filling in the gaps in between. Now you can see I'm being quite scrubby with my brush and sort of just blending it in together. Now I'm going in with my lightest colour to build up those light areas. So the layers of paint I'm putting on is quite thin. One, so I can kind of see what I'm doing. And two, I can always go back and add more later, which is what I'm doing now. I'm putting in some of those darks again where I need them. While you can't really see it on screen and it looks very alien at the moment, I could still see through that, because they are quite thin layers of paint, those the white lines underneath. So the more paint obviously you put on, the harder it is to see them, but you've kind of got your shading in place so you have a bit of an idea of what you're doing on the page at this stage. I'm also putting in some blues as my shadows as well, so you can sort of see that starts to blend in. Because the blues and the purpley colours sort of sit together, they're going to blend together okay, so you just get this nice deeper shadow happening on the page. So it's just about building and building and building. Now the eyes can kind of be a little bit tricky, but you do have the outlines there to help you out, and it is going to look weird until you put the eyes in. Our brains are trained to try and identify eyes, to recognize something as a face. So until we have the eyes in, it's always going to look a little weird and a little alien. So just to ground my image, instead of having her floating up in the air, I've just painted in the rest of her clothes and touched the bottom of my page with that. So I've just used the turquoise to do that. And now I'm going in and painting her hair. And again, because I've got the paints out and I don't want to waste anything, I'm just using the paints I've got on my palette. Mind blank, I forgot what I was actually going to say. So this is the fuchsia, and I'm mixing in the carnation with it, so just to lighten it out. Because I've mixed so many colours in the background, it's not quite the same colour, so it doesn't really matter. And it sort of blends in together. Because I have extra paint left on my palette, I'm going into my used up journal and just painting it out in there. So that'll be another page to do another day. So once I've finished, I'm going to dry this off. So there's still lots to do on this page. Don't freak out right now. So it's all good. So once I've done this, I'm going to go in with my Stabilo All pencil and add the details back in. And I'm being really, really sketchy with my lines and just adding in the lines that are originally there. So obviously, if you really wanted to, you could certainly use the black image to do exactly this. The reason I haven't is because I know it's going to be mostly painted over. But if you're still a little bit unsure or doing this for the first time, if you've got the black there, you might find it easier to follow the lines. Now, hopefully you can sort of see now I've got those eyes in, it makes a lot more sense. Having the dark lines for the hair and the scribbles as well kind of just helps bring it all together. So I'm just very, very loose. I've got a very short pencil here, but you can sort of see that neckline. I've made it really, really loose. Putting in the pupils is a huge thing, and having the little dot of white, the catch-all in the eye, is really, really important. To make eyes make sense, your catch-alls need to be in the same position in each eye because the light source is coming from the same place. So if your eye is looking slightly funny, have a look at your catch-alls because you may have put them slightly off line with each other or in a slightly different position, and that might be what's throwing your eye off. So the final thing that I'm going to do for my page is put a big quote on it, which is do the universe a favour, don't hide your magic. So to write my quotes, I use my paint pen, and the reason I use a paint pen is exactly for that reason right there. Paint pens are acrylic paint. I have done my background in acrylic paint. If your acrylic paint is not dried, you can wipe it off. So it gives you that little bit of opportunity to wipe something off. The reason I don't write it out in pencil first is I find I'm a bit heavy-handed with pencil, so it leaves a dent in the page. Even if I make a mistake, when I try and rub it out, I can still see it, and it really bugs me. I know that if I use my paint pen, I can just use my wet wipe, dry off the page, and it's disappeared and I don't see it anymore. So that's just me. Totally up to you how you choose to do it. So once I've written my quote out, I then go back in, once I've got the spacing worked out, and I can you can see me extending the serifs on these, widening it out to fill in those gaps a little bit more and to make it look just that little bit more interesting on my page. So I'm not really doing all that much to it, but just sort of widening some letters, downstrokes and so on, adding on some little triangles to the edges, to balance it all out a little bit. So that's how I do it anyway. Then go back in and dry it again, because again this is pigment ink. This is acrylic paint, so obviously you need to make sure it is dried before you do your next bit. I did want to go through and highlight it with another colour, so I'm using the pink chalk pastel, but I really didn't like it. It didn't do what I wanted it to. So again, I'm just going in and using wet wipe to dab it off. I didn't want to smear it because I didn't want to put extra colour in the background. While I had my dotty white pen out, I thought, oh, she could have dots on her top. So feel free when you've got bits and pieces out just to play, just to make. It makes all the difference in the end. It makes it more yours. So now I'm going in with a yellow or neon yellow to do a highlight around my letters. So I'm doing them on the bottom left of each of my letters and adding them to all of them. I love putting shadows or highlights, I suppose, on my letters because it just helps pop them out from the background a little bit, makes them a little bit more 3D. Just defines the letter a little bit more, and usually I use white or black to do it, but there's nothing to stop you, like I'm doing here, to actually use a little bit of colour. Now I am actually, usually I draw beside the letter, but in this case I'm actually drawing on the white so that pops a little bit more, and you'll see that in the close-up. So I'm using the neon because I have neon colours sort of sprinkled in the background as well. The last thing I did, because we've got a bit of a galaxy unicorn, university type thing happening, I thought on her cheeks, I have this glitter gel from Ranger Ink. I think this one's called Cosmos. So it's got little stars in it, and it's got holographic glitter in it. It's just a really great way to use glitter without getting glitter everywhere. So I thought she could have glittery cheeks. So once it dries, it is a little bit glossy, so you can see it reflecting a little bit in the end, but I really like how it sort of ties it all together. Final thing I'm doing is just putting a little bit more black into her eyes, putting a little bit more colour onto her lips, and that is the final image. So it's a great way to use your white tissues. in your page to use them as a bit of a reference to paint over the top. If you want to find out more about overpainting images, check out Dina Wakely's free demos that she did from the start of the year. She's got some fabulous face painting demos on how to do different shadings and so on, so I'd highly recommend you check those out too. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.